Hi students, this week we're focusing on chapter 2 of our y equals mx plus b book. So before the break, we worked on the cover and the introduction. Then last week was on chapter 1, working from equations. And now for this week, we're going to focus on writing equations. So let's start by reading the instructions. What are some shortcuts you can use to find the equation if you are given a t-table or graph? So given a t-table or graph, how do we write the equation? Choose one. Create an easy t-table or a tricky t-table. So remember, tricky means a fractional slope. She'll explain how to find the equation. Okay? We're going to try that first. So step 2. So I'm going to make a t-table where we have one coordinate, could be -4, 3. And our other coordinate could be -1, 6. -6. When you have these 2 points, how do you find the slope and the y-intercept to write our equation in slope-intercept form? Doing this problem will also help you with your k-back for this week. So first off, we need to figure out what the slope is. And slope is change in y over change in x. So the change in y, so if we're at +3 and we go to -6, that means we're subtracting 9 for the change in y. 3 minus 9 is -6. For a change in x, if we're at -4 and we want to get to -1, we're adding 3. -4 plus 3 is -1. So now we have -9 over 3, which is the same thing as -3. So our slope is going to be -3. This is not a fractional slope, so we did an easy t-table in this case. Now, let's try to find the y-intercept. So we know that it is going down by 3 for each x value. Well, one way we can try to figure out the y-intercept is by writing the equation y equals mx plus b. And we know our slope is -3. So we have -3 y equals -3x plus b. Now, we need to figure out our y-intercept. So to figure out the y-intercept, we can plug in any x and y values from earlier. Let's say we choose -1 and -6. So we're going to plug in -1 and -6 into our equation. -3 is our slope. And then x is -1. And y is -6. Plus our b, which we don't know yet. If we simplify this, we get -1 times -3 is +3 equals to -6 plus b. So to get b by itself, we subtract 3 on both sides. And we're left with -9 equals to b. So we just found our y-intercept. b is equal to -9. Our final equation is going to be y equals -3x minus 9. This is how we translated 2 coordinates from a t-table to an equation. Another way to solve this problem to find the y-intercept is by creating your t-table and just extending it. So, for example, if we know that x is -4 at 3, we can figure out the other coordinates by subtracting 3 each time, because that's our slope. So subtract 3, subtract 3, subtract 3. And what we're going to get is at negative 3, 3 minus 3 is 0. At negative 2, 0 minus 3 is negative 3. At negative 1, negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. And at 0, subtract 3 again from negative 6, and we get negative 9, which corresponds to the b we got earlier through solving. So step 2 says, choose 1, create an easy t-table or tricky t-table. In this case, we used an easy t-table because our slope was not a fraction. Show and explain how to find the equation. I just showed you how to find the equation from the t-table to the equation. Now, to explain it, you need to write in words what you did step by step. So explain what you did first, second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way until the equation. That's how you do step 2. Now, step 3 says choose the other. So we did an easy t-table. Now we're going to do a tricky graph. So we need to have a fractional slope. Show and explain how to find the equation. So I'm going to draw a graph. And it needs to be a fractional slope, so it has to be tricky. We'll scale by 2s in this case. And let's say I have a point at 2, 4, and my other point is at 9, 8. So we have one coordinate is 9, 8. So 9 on the x and 8 on the y. And my other coordinate is going to read as 2 on my x, 4 on my y. We need to figure out what the equation of this line is. And to do that, from a graph and change that to an equation, we need to identify what's our change in y over our change in x first. That represents our slope. So if we're looking at the change in y, we start at 4 and we need to get to 8. So to go from 4 to 8, we need to add 4. 4 to 8, add 4. And to go from 2 on the x to 9 on the y, on the x, so 2 on the x to 9 on the x, we need to add 7. So our change in y is positive 4, and our change in x is positive 7. That's our slope, 4 over 7. We go up 4 and we go to the right 7. So to begin writing our equation, we know that it's y equals mx plus b, where in this case, y is equal to 4 over 7 x. Now the question is, how do we find the y-intercept? And we know it's somewhere between 2 and 4 on the y-axis. So to do that, we can plug in an x and y coordinate. from our graph to figure out our b, just like the last problem. I'm going to choose smaller numbers to make my life a little easier. X is 2 and y is 4. So I'm going to plug in x is 2 and y is 4. I'm going to write 4/7 here plus our b. So 4 is equal to 4/7 times 2 plus b. And if we wanted to multiply it out, 4/7 times 2/1 is going to give us 8/7 plus b. And that must equal to 4. And to get b by itself, we're going to subtract 8/7 on both sides. So 4 minus 8/7, we'll do some math on the side. 4/1 minus 8/7. Find a common denominator, so multiply 7 in the numerator and denominator, and we're left with 28/7 minus 8/7, which equals to 20/7. So that's going to be our b. So now we have 20/7 is equal to b. Our final equation is y equals to 4/7 x plus 20/7. So we started with the equation, we started with the graph. We found the slope, change in y over the change in x. Once we found the slope, we plug it into the equation, and we pick one of the coordinates, 2, 4, or 9, 8. Chose 2, 4. Plug it into the equation to eventually solve for b. And our final equation is y equals 4/7, which is our slope, x plus 20/7, which is our y-intercept. So in these instructions, it says create an easy graph or tricky graph. We create a tricky graph because we have a fractional slope. And then show how we found the equation. This is how you show to find the equation. To explain how you find the equation, you gotta explain in words what you did from step 1, step 2, all the way to finding the final equation. As a reminder, you can use a t-table and graph from outline number 1 or number 2, but make sure your t-table and graph are different from other people's. Make sure you give reasons to explain what you did step by step, and use colors, arrows, and other technical writing tools to help you explain. If you have further questions, please come in during office hours. Tuesday will be a live lesson. See you soon.